Welcome everyone to the Executive Compass. This is where we get insights from B2B founders. We'll dive into their story, how they got started, their challenges and opportunities, and how they're shaping their business for the future. For those of you who are watching this podcast, I'm Amisha Srimankar, founder of Vector Growth Partners, and today I have a very special guest whose name is Brent Hafele, and he's the founder of VibrancyUnlocked.com, and I'm super excited to dive into our conversation today. Hey there, Brent. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
So thank you for joining us today. Would you share briefly about yourself?
Love to. So I live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and I have 5 members of my family, my beautiful wife, Jennifer, and 3 kids we just got a high school graduate. So we've got a lot of life going on here. And life is good. I love the work that we do at Vibrancy Unlocked, which is the company that we're with. And yeah, a lot of good things.
Awesome. So I want to kick off by asking you, what inspired you to launch Vibrancy Unlocked, and what gap were you seeing in the market or in the people that you serve?
Sure. Well, there's several factors that came together in this company. So the first is I love leadership development and I love coaching. So being a coach and being able to encourage people and support them, but also challenge them has been incredibly rewarding and exciting. And I came from a consulting career of about 15 years. And after consulting so many different leaders, I kind of came to the point where I'm like, I really, really love working with CEOs. And so the first thing was my desire to be a coach. My second was seeing CEOs and the needs that CEOs have. It's a really unique challenge and really unique role that CEOs live and they engage with. And so because it's such a unique role, very few people go to CEO school. Very few people get the opportunity to really engage in that way. And so it's an awkward position. And so they need support too. And then the final thing was there are so many coaches out in the world that are great coaches, and yet they don't enjoy the business aspects of the way that they operate. And because they don't enjoy the business aspects of the way they operate, they struggle to engage in their business. And so part of what I do is bring on other coaches into our practice and allow them to learn and grow. I used to work for a firm that was a national consulting firm, and I was in the C-suite. I got to really see how does a multi-million-dollar firm with over 50 people in it function? How does it operate? And so that's my long-term vision, is to grow a practice where a whole bunch of coaches that are supporting each other and working together and helping CEOs do great work.
Yeah. So tell me about this network of coaches. How many coaches do you have that work with you?
Well, we're little at this point. So we're 3.5 years old, but we are in the process. We presently have 2 coaches on the team, and we're bringing on a 3rd coach.
Okay.
And so we're bringing on our first CEO level coach, and excited about that. He lives in Alabama. And so that incredible opportunity to bring in a peer in that way. But we also have an executive assistant coach because, as a CEO focused company, we know that there are executive assistants that need help as well, and they need support to support their CEO. And so that's a core part of it. And then because we're a coaching first company, we love coaching as a practice. I brought in my executive assistant is in the process of getting certified in coaching as well. And she's just taking on her first coaching clients in addition to her executive assistant duties. And so it's something that we all do in the practice.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Tell me before we go any further, why Vibrancy as the brand name? What were you thinking?
Well, it depends on how deep you want to go and how far you want to go. But actually, this is kind of a fun story, so maybe I'll tell it anyway.
Please.
So I was about 12 years ago. I was in Kansas City at a conference, and I had a guy by the name of Mike come by my booth, and this was when I had my consulting firm, and he says, "I need your help." I'll start it again. How about that? Give me 1 second here. There's something that is bothering me with the video. There we go. Let's see if is that working? It's not going to. Okay, I'll just deal with it. Yeah, okay. So let me see. How did I come into that? Do you want to just ask the question again?
Yeah, I'll do that. Why the name Vibrancy Unlocked?
So vibrancy has been a word that has been in my life for probably the last 12 to 14 years, somewhere in that range. I was in a conference in I was at a conference. So vibrancy has been a word in my vocabulary for the last 12 to 14 years. I was at a conference in Kansas City when a guy by the name of Mike stopped by my booth, and the booth that was for my consulting company, New Day Nonprofit Solutions. And he stopped by and he says, Brent, I need your help. I'm like, okay. Do you need help with fundraising? Nope. How about strategic planning? Nope. How about governance? Nope. How about leadership development? Nope. How about, and I went through the list of the things that we did in our consulting practice, and he didn't need any of it. So I just kind of scratched my head and I said, I'm confused. What do you really need? And he says, I don't know. We keep hitting the ceiling and I don't know how to get beyond it. And so I said, I know what you need. You need a vibrancy plan. And he says, what's a vibrancy plan? I said, I don't know. Come back tomorrow and I'll tell you. And so he comes back the next day. And I had come up with a product for a vibrancy plan.
Inviting him
So I
to
came back with a vibrancy plan. I listed out exactly what it was after I planned it for that night. And he says, that'll work. He hired me. I went to Denver, worked with him and his organization and led the vibrancy plan through that process. Well, it was at that point that vibrancy became a core word of mine and eventually became part of my personal mission statement, which is to unlock the God-given potential of leaders so that they and their followers will live a more vibrant, loving, and impactful life. And that's where Vibrancy Unlocked came from.
Amazing. I love that story. And you said that was 12 years ago. So were you in the process of creating your framework and putting things together before you launched Vibrancy Unlocked?
At that time, I was knee-deep in consulting. And so that was, I was in this consulting, I had my own consulting practice. I was in the process of transitioning into selling my practice to a company out of North Carolina. And so there was a lot of change going on there. And coaching hadn't hit my radar until probably 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
Actually.
Interesting. Okay. I would like to know, who is your ideal client or audience and what are they usually trying? And I know you coach CEOs. Is it a particular industry or clientele that you're usually trying to improve when they come to you?
Sure. So at Vibrancy Unlocked, we coach CEOs, and particularly in companies that have a C-suite or have a leadership team of some sort. And what we like to work, generally they have about 25 employees at least. But we've worked with companies up to over 1,000 employees. And so that's a big part of what we work with. A lot of our clients are in the financial services industry, banking, credit unions, wealth management organizations, insurance, a lot of those finance organizations. But we've also had some really fun ones, like worked with the Pittsburgh Zoo, the CEO of the Pittsburgh Zoo. And that was an absolute blast to work with them. I've worked with the largest radio station in Houston, Texas. I've had lots of other opportunities, healthcare and other places, but our focus, we tend to lean in on the financial services.
Okay. And are you by qualification finance professional? Was that what you were helping do or?
Nope.
Interesting.
Nope. I have no background in finance and I'm not the one that they want to work with finance. But here's the thing. I understand people. And I understand leadership. And that's where a lot of finance folks, when you think about how does someone get into their position as a CEO, they come up through credit, or they come up through finance, or they come up through sales, or they come up through operations. They don't come up through leadership.
Interesting observation.
And so suddenly they're in charge of all the methodologies. They came up through, let's say they went up through credit, or they went up through commercial lending or something like that. And they've gone up through this, and then all of a sudden they're in charge of HR and marketing and physical plant, and they have a board relationship and a whole bunch of things that they weren't managing before they got into that C-suite role. And so as a CEO coach, what we do is we really help them adapt. And Austin, the CEO coach that we're bringing on from Alabama, he actually has 20 years of banking experience and is working at a bank right now. For me, I worked with F&C Bank out of New Richmond, Wisconsin, and worked with their C-suite, and I loved it. And I loved them. They were great to work with. And it just really struck me that this is a market, this is a niche that I could work in and really enjoy.
Yeah. So tell me, what does a regular coaching engagement look like? You bring on a CEO, and obviously it's different for every CEO across the board, right? There's no like cookie cutter plan that you have, but what does it typically look like? What are the outcomes that they walk away with after you were done? Walk me through that process.
Sure. Well, we actually do have some standard CEO plans, CEO coaching plans. And with our two hallmark plans was the CEO plan and the CEO plus plan. And CEO plan is we work just with the CEO. With the plus plan, we'll work with the entire C-suite. And so what that includes is monthly scheduled coaching sessions and access to their coach where they can email, text, in between sessions. Sometimes our clients need to let off steam, and the best place to do it is to let it off with me or without one of our coaches. Sometimes they have an idea that they want to share, but the thing with being the CEO is as soon as you say, "Hey, I got an idea," then all of a sudden people say, "Well, the boss wants this. We should do this because he said, what if we did this?
Yeah.
We should actually do it." And so the CEO has a difficult time sometimes brainstorming or actually coming up with ideas. And sometimes the CEO needs to celebrate. If anyone has ever watched The Office before, the sitcom, you think about, oh, great, Michael Scott did this and we should celebrate him. Hey, let's celebrate me because I'm so great. It's hard as the CEO to authentically be celebrated. And so as coaches, we love doing that because we're working with them individually. And it's like, yes, we've been working on this for a while. Good job. And it's authentic. And it's not one of those things where the team is like, yeah, we're paid to celebrate you and all this other stuff. So they can come and do that. And it just gives them a space where they feel seen, where they feel valued, where they feel authentic relationship, and where they know that their coach is going to challenge them when something doesn't sound right or something doesn't make sense. Hey, let's go deeper into this. I'm not sold on your idea yet. Let's walk through this. And so it gives that CEO an opportunity. A lot of times the whole if you've ever heard of the Aesop's fable, the emperor has no clothes, and everyone said, "Oh, emperor, this is great." Well, CEOs are a lot like that, where it's hard to say, CEO, do you see the spinach in your teeth? Do you see the problems that are going on? And so that's where a coach can be a safe, authentic, hopefully gentle mirror that allows that CEO to make better choices and move in a more effective direction.
Okay, great. And what are some of the outcomes that you have that you can share with us? Like, what have you?
I love that you asked that question, Amisha. Outcomes are awesome, especially because we are evidence-based practice. So a lot of practices out there and a lot of leadership gurus out there. They mean well. They do good work. And at the same time, it's not necessarily they're not as outcome driven as we are. But some of the things that I really love is I had a CEO that came back and 6 months in said, "I'm a better listener and I'm making slower decisions. I'm making fewer decisions." And that may sound like, well, they're the CEO. They should be making lots of decisions. But when you really think about a CEO making less decisions, that doesn't mean that less decisions are being made. It means that those decisions are going down the ladder to people who are able to take greater ownership in their company. And they're able to take greater investment in what they're doing. And the person who's actually reaping the rewards or engaging the issue or is the closest to the problem or the closest to the opportunity is the one making the decision. I actually we have a graduation season right now. And so I was at a grad party talking to a friend who is a salesperson in high-end sales. And he had the biggest sale he's ever had. And by 10x just this last week. It was huge. But in the midst of that sale, he's the closest to the client. But every time there was a detail, because the sale was so big, every time there was something going on, it had to go up their chain in his company.
Yeah.
And the VP had to approve it, and the SVP had to, and then this person. And there was all this. And in fact, they were insisting that they propose not just the salesperson's best idea, but also a competitive idea. So we're going to give this client two proposals. One of them is superior and the other one is not. And the salesperson was ridiculously frustrated because he says, "I've worked so hard to get them the right proposal. I have listened, I have served, I have cared, I have researched, and now you want me to propose this kind of slush, the stuff that just doesn't fit?"
Mhm. Mm.
And so that's what I mean by the CEO or executives making fewer decisions. The best person to make that proposal was the salesperson. And he had the intel and he knew what his clients wanted and he had a track record of success. But because this was a big deal, this was a big sale, executives had to get in, and instead of guiding and supporting their salesperson, they had to get in and meddle with the sales process,
Yeah.
and that almost lost them the deal.
Yeah. No, that's pretty tragic when you have so many levels of, I don't want to say red tape because that's more of a governmental thing, but I know what you're saying, like so many levels of approval that you have to go through to finally get
Hoops,
something.
bureaucracy, ego, all those
Exactly.
things. Yep.
Exactly. And I love that you kind of, and do the CEOs who work with you, do they have to unlearn some of that when they come in? Is this do you hold up the mirror? Like, this is probably what you're doing, and this is where you need to take a step back? Or are they aware of this when they come into that relationship?
Sometimes they're aware, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we discover it together. The work of coaching, though, is not to say, Amisha, you're really bad and we need to really fix this. Ooh, like it's not that at all. It's like, what do you want to work on? And where do you want to grow? And what do you think is holding you back from there? And a big difference between coaching and consulting is consulting tends to be the consultant is the expert coming in and assessing and diagnosing and prescribing and sometimes treating, whereas the coach assumes that the client is the expert. And when the client is the expert, they are the ones that are doing the assessment and with their coach. They're walking through a process together. And it's much less, you need to fix this, and much more like, I wonder, that seems like a problem. I might need to deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How are we going to address that? How are we going to navigate that? And it works extremely well for CEOs and senior executives because I have yet to meet a CEO who likes being told what to do.
I know. I know. That's the beauty of an amazing coaching relationship. It's more co-creative, collaborative
Mhm.
versus tell me what to fix, and I'm going to
Absolutely.
fix it for you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I like that. Great. And it could be argued sometimes that, hey, when you are working with a coach and the outcomes that you have, they're not necessarily reflecting the ROI of the organization. But I beg to differ. I'm sure your clients do come back and say, hey, because I've made fewer decisions, because I was maybe meddling less, we've actually seen an upswing in sales or whatever, or revenue, and they do come back and report. Does that happen? Do you see that?
Ap- Absolutely. I actually had a client that within 90 days, they had a 15x return on investment for the entire year of service
Phenomenal.
because CEOs make big decisions and they are engaged in lots of different things. And so it's always funny to me when I hear that, oh, our budget is tight or we can't quite do this or it doesn't make sense. And I don't want to judge the client. I understand they have their own realities and other types of things. But there can be sometimes, some of the most significant decisions can cause really big problems in an
Hmm.
organization.
Yeah.
And I always tell my team members that work for me, you will never make a more expensive mistake than I do, a more costly mistake than I do. I mean, I remember early on in this business, I made like a $40,000 mistake. And it's just like, whoa, okay, that hurts. I don't want to do that again. But when you recognize, okay, I'm the one that's going to make the biggest mistakes as the CEO, as the president, then you look at your team and you can say, all right, it's okay for you to make some mistakes too.
Yeah.
And create a space where people are growing and leaning forward and engaging in such a way that they become more and more successful over time.
Amazing. Now, Brent, you talked about, your clients coming back to you and saying, hey, I'm a better listener. I make fewer decisions. These are things that they've been covered, in the coaching relationship. What do they tell you that they value most about working with you as the coach?
Well, what I hear time and again is I appreciate the friendship, the connection. I mean, I have the level of connection and it sounds like a weird word, but intimacy that comes into being a coach and walking through challenging things. And it's not just talking about business. I mean, there are times when, all right, let's talk about your marriage or let's talk about your kids or, okay, so your mom-in-law is really sick and you and your spouse are going to take care of mom and help in the home or something like that. And that's putting a lot of stress on your family. And how are you going to navigate that? When have you taken a break? Have you gone for a walk today? And so it creates the kind of relationship where it goes deep, and it's very cool. And while they are not paying me to be their friend, there is a care, there is a relationship there that is a connection. And I know that a lot of questions that I get about AI and artificial intelligence had lots of value, lots of really cool things about it. And at the same time, AI will never have the ability to replace the human soul. Never have that presence. I mean, we are created to be seen and heard and valued and loved. And AI has lots of really cool capabilities, lots of powerful things that it can do, but it can't do that and never will be able to. And so my clients, I think they most value that relationship of I see you, I don't judge you, I'm with you, I'm for you, and just that support is really meaningful to them.
Yeah, and I 100% agree about that. I think the human connection, the human in the loop is so important, especially in professions like coaching, even consulting to an extent, right? I mean, if you could have a bot fix everything, you wouldn't need people, but we do. So interesting you said that. And that's where I want to kind of shift the conversation there. We know that the human in the loop is very important, especially, if you're a coach. Where do you think has AI been helpful for you, even the team that you have, and where do you use it in the business today?
AI has been really helpful in a number of places for us. So one of them is specifically with our marketing program. So we do a lot of writing, we do a lot of development, a lot of podcasts and things. And so we'll take this transcript from this podcast and we'll say, hey, we had this, make some social media feeds from this conversation. And it'll create some social media feeds for that. And then we'll edit it and we'll post that. And that saves us an enormous amount of time. It certainly helps us with our research and with evaluations of certain clients and looking at market niche and things on that idea. Helps us with seminar presentations and development of content. I never want AI to be the writer. I never want it to be the decider. But here's an example in one of our research program or one of our seminars on listening. We did a 3-hour seminar on listening recently. And in that seminar, I said, all right, go ahead and write an annotated bibliography of every peer-reviewed listening study that has been published in the last 10 years. And so it created that list. And it took, I don't know, 45 minutes or whatever it is. I read all of the annotations, and then I decided which articles I was going to read based on what we were looking for. And then I read the articles. I went back to AI and I said, okay, I read these articles. Here's what I found, and here's the model I've put together. What do you think, and what am I missing? And it came back with different nuances and helped me develop our model for listening at Vibrancy Unlocked. And that's been very helpful in that and saved dozens of hours easily in the process of it. And improved the outcome, I think, as well, just because wouldn't have been able to take that much energy or take that much time into that research. So it's been incredibly helpful in that way. Internally, we also have, I'm a Gallup certified Clifton Strengths coach.
Okay.
And so we do Clifton Strengths a lot with just about all of our clients do Clifton Strengths. And when you work with Vibrancy Unlocked, you actually get access to Gallup Access as a complimentary value add as one of our clients. And so when when our clients get access to Gallup Access, they also get access to Gallup AI. And so when they've got questions about their Clifton strengths, when they've got questions about how to engage with someone who has different strengths than they have, when they need tools or whatever, they can engage with Gallup AI. And I found Gallup AI to be really, really high quality, really well done. So
Yeah. No, great. I love it.
those are some ways that we use it.
Yeah. No, fantastic. What are you most focused on growing right now?
Uh, right now, it is Right now, we are most focused on expanding in the Wisconsin market and really engaging with those financial institutions that are in our backyard. So I'm happy to work with organizations that are outside of Wisconsin. I'm happy to work with organizations that are outside of finance. But at the same time, if you market to everyone, unless you have the budget of like Coca-Cola or McDonald's,
Sure.
you market to no one. And I don't have the budget of Coca-Cola right now, and I probably never will have that. And so as such, we're focusing on that market, but I would like to grow our market share, grow our connections in that area. And so every time I travel anywhere in Wisconsin, I'm meeting with banks, I'm meeting with credit union CEOs, I'm meeting with wealth management organizations and accounting firms and others and saying, "Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Could we connect? Could we have a conversation?" So if you are a CEO and you're in Wisconsin, I'm happy to come see you. If you're a CEO and out of Wisconsin, still reach out. More than happy to connect. So
Yeah, no, of course.
it's those conversations.
No, definitely. And we will be adding all the links down below.
Awesome.
Every business has a good problem to solve. That's how I see it, or a good problem that it's trying to solve. What's one challenge, if you solved it, would unlock the next level of growth for you and the company?
The big challenge that we're having is really getting to the bottom of what slows down or stops a client from making the final decision. So our and I've talked to other coaches that have similar challenges where the sales cycle is just long.
Yeah.
And it takes time for CEOs to accept, yeah, this might be beneficial to me. Yeah, I want to do this. Oh, and I got to get it fit into the budget. And so going through some of those iterations, that is a challenge yet for us. And we're continuing to test, we're continuing to play and adjust and adapt to the market. And I think we're really onto some things. We're making some really good progress, and I can see it in both the leading and the lagging indicators of our company. And at the same time, I also know that we have further to go. And I don't know about you, but I have yet to another thing that I've yet to meet is an entrepreneur that's satisfied. And so
Totally.
I have growth goals that I'm looking for to say, all right, how do we shorten our sales process? How do we increase the pipeline? It's probably what a lot of folks are dealing with,
True.
and cash flow and all of the different challenges that are the joys of running a business. So,
Yes. Yes, I know, right? And we wouldn't have it any other way, right?
well, some of us would, but
Sometimes.
I actually love these challenges. Like I enjoy the business of business or the business of running a coaching firm. I also really love coaching. And so I have that benefit of both. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run a firm is that I can do some coaching, I can do some speaking, I can do some leading and encouraging others and get the variety that I'm looking for. Whereas I know there's some people that really all they want to do is coach or all they want to do is speak. Great. Come on in. Let's work.
Yes. So I want to know this, and you probably do have somebody, but does Brent Hafele have a coach too?
I have two.
Okay.
I have two.
Okay.
So I have an internal coach in our practice, Kim Ryder. She's our special projects. She's our special projects guru, I guess, or liaison, or like, she's just amazing. She also is an ACC or associate credentialed coach through the International Coaching Federation. And she coaches me from like an internal standpoint. So I'll go through, hey, can I talk through something? Can I work through something? And she's just always available because she's on the payroll. So that works out really well. But then I have an external coach as well that I reach out to and I engage with him. And he just does a really nice job, David Cook, walking me through various different challenges. He's a veteran coach himself and a Christian pastor, which my faith is really important to me. And so he helps with, kind of seeing things through a faith lens as well and a business lens, and just really a good advisor and coach to me in that process and mentor. So yeah,
Amazing. I love it.
absolutely.
Coaches who have coaches, and they get my respect. If a listener takes one idea away from this conversation today, what would you want that to be?
I got to think about what we talked about.
Or
the thing is I'm not thinking about like, I'm just thinking forward is like, okay, what's next? What's next?
agree.
What's next? I'm not documenting or recording what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Or it could be for, the conversations you've had with other leaders in
Sure.
businesses, entrepreneur to entrepreneur,
Yep.
because we have
Yep.
entrepreneurs listening.
Yep. Entrepreneur to entrepreneur or leader to leader. I think one of the things that I see the most is just lost the word. I know what I wanted to say, but I don't know how to say it. Okay, this will work. One of the things as an entrepreneur and a leader in many different organizations and others that I just have seen over many, many years is this lack of self-awareness that we often have as leaders. And I struggle with it. My clients struggle with it. bosses and supervisors I've worked with struggle with it. We're in the business world. We're in this cycle of being so busy. Go, 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 go. And up to the point where you become CEO, you are consistently rewarded for what you do.
Mhm.
But when you enter that role of CEO, when you enter that role of founder or president or owner or entrepreneur, suddenly it's how you think and how you lead that really matters.
Yeah.
And thinking and leading requires a great deal of self-awareness, and it requires time.
Yeah.
And that's something that most leaders don't have. They're super busy, crazy, crazy going all the time. And so the ability to slow down,
Yeah.
the ability to process, the ability to sit and have solitude, to have silence, to walk into a space, whether that be in nature or whether that be a quiet room of some sort with no technology other than maybe a pen and a notepad, and just think and just process, or just have a conversation with another human being that can help you engage if you're a verbal processor. That is such critical time, and it's so undervalued. And that's part of why I'm a coach, but it's also part of where I've seen the most magic. And the work that we do is when our clients do take that time, whether it's with us or whether it's, through our coaching session, they realize, oh yeah, I need to go have that personal retreat once a quarter. I need to go take an hour a week by myself or 2 hours a week by myself to just think, just process, just observe myself, my thoughts, my ideas, my environment. That's super critical. So that's my encouragement. Go find an hour, go find 2 hours in the next week to spend some time with yourself.
I think that's really, really solid advice. And thank you. I'm going to be applying it to myself. I don't do any of that. And I think this couldn't have come at a better time. So thank you for
Good.
sharing that.
When are you going to do it, Amisha? That's what I want to know.
That's code speak, isn't it? I will have to look at my schedule and schedule that time. And now, follow-up question. Do you recommend someone?
I can't help it. I'm a coach. I
I
got to do
know,
that.
right?
It's like, okay, great. I'm glad you have the
Yeah.
intention. Now, when are you going to do it? Let's get it on the calendar. Let's schedule it, and then let's follow up. So, yeah.
And do you recommend doing this once a week, every day? You said once a quarter for the personal retreat, but
Yep.
even just
I
alone time to
it's
yourself.
going to be different for each person, but I think an hour or two a week is not a heavy lift.
That's doable.
And you start thinking deeper, you start thinking better because you start unwinding, unclicking, unlocking, unplugging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, great. Thank you. Awesome
Of
advice.
course. Of
And
course.
Brent, we're at the end of the conversation. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've learned so much. Where can people find and connect with you online?
Well, 2 ways. One is you can go to vibrancyunlocked.com. No funky spelling. So vibrancyunlocked.com. And that's our website. You can get information on our firm and what we do and our contact information there. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Brent Hafele. Just look me up in the show notes or anything like that, and you'll be able to get to me on LinkedIn. And yeah, happy to connect.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll post all those links below.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.